You ever read a story and get the feeling that there's a private joke happening that you're just not quite in on? It's a weird feeling, right? Well, today we're going to dive into a really peculiar kind of book that's built around one single, super clever literary trick. Let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how it all works.
It all kicks off with this riddle, and it's a real head-scratcher. I mean, think about it. How on earth can you read something if the only way to understand it is to already understand it? It sounds like a totally impossible loop, doesn't it?
And here it is, the core paradox, straight from a story that plays with this exact idea. The book is basically setting itself up as this exclusive club, like a big inside joke. So, how do we get the punchline? Well, turns out we need a guide.
So who holds the key to this whole joke? Our guide is definitely not what you're expecting. To crack this literary riddle, we have to meet a character named Icarus, and trust me, he is the absolute key to unlocking this entire thing.
Okay, right off the bat, you see this hilarious contrast. You've got this grand, tragic name, Icarus, from Greek mythology. But what's the reality? He's a dead seagull, a clumsy one at that. This massive clash between how he sees himself and his, let's be honest, bird-brained reality is exactly where the first layer of the joke kicks in.
But a clumsy bird thinking he's a big deal? That's only half of it. The humor here is actually firing on two totally different levels at the same time, and that's what makes this whole thing so incredibly clever.
So, layer one is that internal conflict, right? He's trying so hard to be this majestic, wise guide, but his basic seagull instincts just keep taking over. But the second layer? That's where the story really goes off the rails. He starts complaining directly to the author about how the story is being written.
And this, right here, is the crucial moment. This is where the story completely shatters the fourth wall. We have a character who somehow knows he's a character. He doesn't just live in the story, he's got some very strong opinions about how it's being told. He is literally arguing with his own creator.
Can you imagine reading this? The character just stops the whole narrative dead in its tracks to complain to the author, "Hey, why'd you write that? This is my book, and I want to look graceful." That one single line just shatters all our expectations of how a story is supposed to behave. This amazing little trick actually has a name. It's called metafiction, and it's basically any time a story kind of winks at the audience and admits, "Hey, I'm a story, right?" It's deliberately drawing attention to the fact that it was constructed. So when our seagull friend Icarus complains about being written as clumsy, he's not just a funny bird anymore. Nope, he becomes the author's tool for letting us in on the secret. The story itself is flat out admitting that it's an artificial creation.
So what's the big payoff here? Now that we understand the trick, we can finally go back and solve that riddle from the beginning. It's time to figure out how to finally get in on this in-joke.
The whole process is really a journey the author is taking us on. First, you meet this ridiculous guide. Then, you start laughing at his delusions of grandeur. But the second you hear him complain about the author, that's step 3, it's like a light bulb goes on, bam! Everything clicks. And suddenly, you're not just reading the story anymore, you're part of the joke.
And here it is. Here's the solution. Knowing what is already written has absolutely nothing to do with spoiling the plot. Not at all. It means understanding that the author is playing a game with you, the reader, and the main character knows it. Once you know the rules of that game, that the story can and will talk about itself, you can finally read it the right way.
This all leaves us with a really fascinating final question. I mean, we spend so much of our time trying to get lost in stories to believe they're real. So what does a story actually gain when it shatters that illusion and just admits it's a story? What's the hidden power in that kind of honesty?